I'm Matt Braunger. This might help.
I am not a doctor.
This might help.
I'm not a professional.
Let's have fun. This honestly is a good time.
Honestly, I got no idea what I'm doing. What's going on, who are you?
I'm Matt Braunger. This might help. The podcast.
My eyebrows are completely out of control, and here we are. This might help with Matt Braunger. The advice comedy podcast is what I'm calling it now, because for the longest I was calling it Comedy Advice Podcast, and boy, it is not that. Because if there's anything you can't give advice on, it is that thing. Thanks for all your awesome messages and calls, and obviously if anyone has any problems they need not solved by complete and total idiots, 323-763-0228. With me this episode is one of my all-time favorite comedians and favorite people. And he's one of those guys who's always been super chill, even though he had a bit of a hard upbringing, which is always a bonus when you're a comedian, as we all know. Tom Thakkar, how are you, man?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me, man. And thanks for the kind words.
Sure,
I
dude.
had it tough, all right, and I wanted to get into that for a while. What do I just took this over and tried to do my WTF?
You just started crying and you're like, you know what? Yeah. It's like, I mean, I feel like we touch on that shit on this show, but like, I'm never like, so how, like I got Mara Wilson coming on the show in a couple weeks.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to be like, so child star, talk about the trauma. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
If she brings it up, but I only say that because you talk about it in your act and it's very funny.
Yeah.
And
man, did I talk about that? It's been so long.
Yeah. Well, like, speaking of been so long, I remember when we first met, you were getting kicked off ESPN.com.
Yes.
Constantly posting about how much you loved LeBron Jones.
Yeah. This was back when I used to have a day job, man. I spent so much time on ESPN message boards just pissing people off, because it was the height of people being mad about gay people in sports too.
Yes.
And that was when I was posting. I totally forgot about that, but I used to do that. I used to post erotic gay literature. Like I would write these, I would just write these scenes, but I would pretend to be on their side. I'd be like, I think it's disgusting what these people are doing, touching each other. And then I would go into a deep, like I'd go like by candlelight, falling deeper and deeper into each other's arms. And then it would always get to some sort of slobbering on a dick of some kind.
So homophobic, but he just keeps showing his cards about how so into it. What was that David Cross bit about like doing a Southern preacher who's like, and these gays with their deliciously decadent lifestyle. Like, just the deliciously that's added.
That's
You're like,
so
hey,
good.
Hold on. And dude, the other thing I was thinking about was when we had that week together in
Toronto, right? Yeah.
Like, that was the best. That was so fun.
So fun. That was a great time.
I had a week of sold out shows, and you opened for me on one. And that was the one I didn't love my set. And that was the one that got reviewed. And the reviewer did not like my set, but loved you. And like, I was like, damn.
That's the worst.
But I remember.
That's the worst feeling.
To her credit, I remember talking to my therapist about it. And he was like, yeah, but it was your least favorite set, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, you can't be mad at her. And I'm like, you're right. I'm not. But
yeah, it was my least favorite set though, too. So if you count that, it's like, really, it doesn't matter. No, that was fun.
But like, yeah, all in all, it was still a good time. But was like, I remember the only thing that really pissed me off about it was the fact that she singled you out. like the better comic was with far less
absurd
time. And I was like, yeah, but that's like anytime I think almost every comic I know has had that night where they're like, not great. And like someone who's leaving that's drunk. I remember Al Madrigal lit into a lady once for saying this to him after a show where she was like, the opener was funnier than you. And he was like, I did an hour. He did 7 minutes. You're out of your fucking mind. And like, I'm not built like that. Like, it happened to me once. Someone said that to me. I was sick, by the way. And excuse upon excuse. I was sick. And this lady like walked out drunk with her boyfriend and was like pointed at the guy next to me. like the host, and was like, he was funnier, and like kept walking. And I was like, thanks, have a good night. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna kill him with kindness.
Yeah. That's the only thing to do, dude. That happens almost every comedy club weekend. That happens to somebody. Like it doesn't matter who the headliner is, who the opener is. I've had it happen both ways, as the opener and the headliner.
Yep.
Dude, I had it so bad in Bloomington. I don't know if you remember this, but after the show at the Comedy Attic, when the host gets done, they go downstairs and they have to hand out flyers to whoever's coming down the stairs, but people can't see that you're standing down there because you're around a corner. And so back when I used to host over there or do 2-man shows or something, I'd just be sitting down there waiting for somebody to hurt my feelings, and it would happen so often. I remember these fucking people. And I was opening for Tim Wilson, who, rest in peace, sadly passed away. He was a very funny guy, but he was like he had a very country audience. He would do songs, and he had like a cowboy hat and stuff. It was his Bob and Tom guy, for people who don't know, Midwest radio show that it doesn't matter. But it was not a good match because I was 22 or whatever. I was talking about Pokemon cards, whatever. It didn't matter. Sure. People coming down the stairs. And I just hear them one after another going, what a great show it was. And then this one couple is like, oh, that was the best show I've ever seen in my life. That Tom guy sure sucked, though. And then right then they catch my eyes. Like they turn the corner and I have to just go, have a good night. And they're missing their teeth and they fucking, yeah, see, I'm still mad about it. It didn't matter at all. It means nothing, but I just kill them with kindness.
Yeah. I remember when I did New Faces in 2007, they filmed our like practice sets the night before, and like I remember going to MySpace, that's how old I am. And like there was under everybody's video were literally 2,000 "you suck" comments, not one positive. And it was the thing where I was like, oh, I guess I suck, like because it was just like, why are people so mean? But it's that thing where people will just fucking shit on you if there's a distance.
If there's any kind of different distance, and they think of you having been on stage as a distance. They go, that's a person who was on stage earlier. They can take it. They played that character, and then they think they can say whatever they want to you. I stopped reading comments because on a set, even if it's 99.9% positive, there'll be one comment that pisses me off, and I just stopped.
Think it's clawing to you as it's fall.
Dude, like, you know what stopped me, and not to get into the advice too early, but I was listening to I think it was Conan's podcast. He had Will Ferrell on, and Will Ferrell had just done that movie, like Sherlock and whatever, Holmes and Watson or whatever. And he was talking about how he can't read. He doesn't read anything. And he was like, it's not because I'm above it. He was like, it will ruin me. And I was like, if Will Ferrell feels that way, who the fuck am I? Why do I think I'm above that?
Well, and I always thought, every actor you grew up reading interview, like I was always an acting nerd growing up, and like watching the Oscars and shit, and like, dreamed of, being on everything from serious, drama to Saturday Night Live and things like that. But every actor in every interview was like, I don't read reviews, know? And I always thought, oh, cool. You don't want to let that affect your artistic vision.
Yeah.
No, they probably just don't want their soul crushed.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like this, you put in what you can into it, and you can't just let some rando like steal all your joy.
Of course. Dude, that same weekend, some guy came up on my show. I had my buddy Mike Carrazza opening, and somebody came up to him. They said something weird to me, not like it was just kind of a dig at what, like a premise or something, which I was like, whatever. Then he says to my opener, he was like, you just weren't very funny. And he like wanted to have a whole conversation. And I told Mike, I was like, Mike, there's no reason for you to continue talking to this person. We don't owe this guy shit.
Walk away.
He saw the show. Let's end it now. He's a drunk idiot. Who cares?
Right.
And I'm a drunk idiot. I know.
Me too.
I could see it.
I used to love messing with Japanese friends that I've made, because if they come from such a culture of politeness, where like I would do the Matt Dwyer had this move when he was bartending, which is just start talking about anything.
So the Yankees fucking oh no.
Like you're so bored.
That's a great move.
My thing, I'd be like the Japanese friend, yeah, no, nothing, I'm doing nothing, and they would laugh so hard and go so rude because it's like they don't. It's just like that is just
a beautiful move.
Do that move on one of those fuckers.
Yeah,
viciously. I had the one time I usually take it in stride and I'll be like, okay, yeah, you can't say that to me. That's not. I don't take that as a compliment or whatever. Even if they're like, you were better. This woman. I won't say who I was opening for, but this woman came up, and I've had this where sometimes women are fine invading your physical space because you're a man. They're touching you. They're doing
absolutely,
shit.
yeah.
Like, no one fucking said you could touch me. Yeah. I don't care how drunk you are. Don't touch me. You know. And I'm not going to do some bullshit, like double standard, like
no.
You're gonna get arrested. But it's just like, just don't touch people.
It's fucked up, dude. Can I tell you? I did that just popped up.
Oh
yeah. Go ahead.
She just comes up and she goes, I will tell you, you cups my face. And goes, and like this close and was like, you were so much funnier than I'm like, you have to stop touching me right now. It was just like, oh, both hands. Like I would have rather her not touch me and go, you sucked so bad. Can I just tell you how bad you were? You were terrible. And not get touched.
Yeah.
Like she's complimenting me. She's invading space.
And I think both of us have acts where it's like we're pretty self-deprecating. We talk about how goofy and silly we are, and we seem very like that's something you can do to us a little bit, where it's like approachable. And it is so wrong to just it's like I don't want you to touch me. I had a guy in Texas. I'll never forget this because it was the same thing. He was telling me that I was funnier or whatever than whoever else was on or whatever. And he did this fucking thing that I'll never forget where his friend, he goes, can I get a picture? And I was like, yeah, whatever. As his girlfriend, he goes to take the picture. He fucking scooped me in his arms. Like he was a big guy and he just scooped me. And I was like, what the fuck, man? I didn't say you could do that. And he was like, yeah, I knew if I asked you'd say no. And I was like, all right, well, have a good night. You got me there.
Yeah, does that also extend to your sexual proclivities?
Yeah. That's what it is. And we have those personas, but really, we're fucking tough guys. And I almost cut his ass. That's like me and you. We're crazy.
Yeah, we're crazy, man. I keep two suitcases when I go. One for clothes, one for my fucking chainsaw with steel. I've killed men. I think
do it.
One guy's allowed to just lift up other guys, and that's Shaq. Like,
that's it. Because then it's like a favor to you. You have a cool picture forever.
It's funny. Like he did that to Dax Shepard. He like picked him up, he grabbed his arms, just lifted him up like a little kid and moved him. And he was like, and Dax is like my height. He's like 6'4", and he's like, that was the funniest moment of my life. Like I just had this monster lift me up and throw me around.
Shaq's earned it. Whereas this weirdo had not. It's insane.
It's so funny when you're talking about like the guys you think are tough or aren't tough. I was thinking about I was a big hip hop, still am fan growing up and stuff. And it's so funny that NWA, who when I was a kid, I was like, these guys they literally kill people driving to the studio, like driving. Yeah. They get a blowjob and they shoot two guys and they go in and do a song. Like part of me believed that. Like I fully believed Eazy-E was a psycho, not a business. They just knew what sold. Fuck the police. Like you saw the movie Straight Outta Compton?
Actually, no, I've not seen Straight Outta Compton.
Okay.
Which is crazy. I need to see that. I completely forgot.
It's great, but it's full of shit. They pull over, NWA in front of the studio and they're like, get on the ground and, pop them and shit. And like Jerry Heller, played by Paul Giamatti, comes out. He's like, what is this? You don't get to cuff my artists. And they go in and they just feel dehumanized. And Ice Cube's like, I got a song. He writes, fuck the police. Fuck the police was literally wrote after they joyrided around shooting paintballs at people. They were just shooting paintballs and the cops got them. And they wrote it, fuck the police. It was like racism. And
whereas really it's like you were being an asshole.
Yeah. And that was and that's not hard. That's not fucking tough to shoot someone with a paint gun.
That sucks shit. I'd be so mad if I were one of the people who got hit by a paintball that day. And I'm like, oh, and then they wrote a fucking awesome song. God damn it.
I'm covered in paint and I have a bruise that looks like a rubber bullet. On the flip side, De La Soul, and if you listen to Mike Eagle's podcast, What Had Happened was, where he just interviews Prince Paul for like 7 episodes about all the hey cat about all the albums he's produced, and he was talking about he produced 3 Feet High and Rising with De La Soul, and that album had daisies all over it. People called them hippies. De La Soul's really big guys. And people would be like, "You're soft." He was like, they were beating people up weekly. And I'm just like, and nobody knows that. And that makes me laugh so hard that
That's
it's like
so funny.
Ugoy the Dove was just burying punches and then going on stage like me, myself, and I.
That is beautiful.
Just don't
That's
know.
so funny. That thing you said about like you just took it that they were killing people.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, and I realized I was walking down the street the other day and I was listening to Nas, and I realized like, oh, all this time I've just been assuming he did murder a bunch of people. And then I looked it up and I was like, I found this list that was like rappers who have actually murdered people, and it was like I didn't know like any of them, but Nas was certainly not on that list. And maybe he didn't, it's just not, they didn't get caught, but it seems strange that it would be like
the only one I can think of offhand is C Murder, because his name is C Murder. That's an easy one to remember.
True.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like Nas comes from his father's a musician. I think his mother's a writer, and so he's just got that artistic head. But he could write a novel about the streets in a sense, from the first person perspective. But yeah, no, when you're a kid, you're just like, oh man, you guys, how do you have time to write songs when you're killing people all day?
That's exactly it. It was one of those things. Like, have you heard Bargatze's joke about the John Doe thing, where it's like 30 years later he realizes that these people he met were not named John and Jane Doe, and they were probably lying to him. That's how I felt.
But that's a Nate joke in a
It's
nutshell.
so funny. But I think about that bit all the time, and I clicked. Then I was like, I've just been walking around assuming this person was like, oh, I just murdered somebody. Better pin this this song. Better write a poem.
I'm sure there were people that listened to country western and were like, I don't know about Johnny Cash. He shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. He said
Which is
so.
fucked up. He did say that.
And like Hank Williams wasn't probably eating jambalaya by the bayou. That was just a song.
Not a bad day though, man.
Yeah. So like I saw that you were doing shows at the Attic with a mask on.
Yeah.
And I saw your clip about what if Biden talked shit, which is super funny.
Thanks, my man.
Because that's something I've thought about a lot, where it's just like, that's the problem with Trump. You can't meet him halfway. You can't be like, well, fuck you, because then everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, our side wouldn't allow it.
How dare you? Yeah.
And it's like, it's
and neither
true
was
that,
theirs. That's the bullshit. But it's funny to think about. It's just like, yeah, Biden's like 80. Why not just drop the pretense and be like, why don't you suck my dick? Donald?
Yeah, that's all I want. Just and now we just have a wrestling match. Like it's of language, but yeah, it's it sucks that it's like our guy is the one who says keep yapping, man, and then we're like, oh yeah, get him. That was cool. The fact that we have to pretend it's cool is what really bothers me, and it's living hypocrisy, because it's a thing where 6 months before we were all like, fuck Joe Biden. I like Bernie Sanders or whoever or Elizabeth Warren, whatever. And then we all have to be like, hell yeah. The day that he won, there was a funny thing where there was all these politicians that we all make fun of all the time in the park celebrating with everybody. And it was like, one of them took their mask off to like sing or something. And I was like, this is bad optics for you, brother. And also, this is so lame, but we were just happy. It was just celebrating the Trump.
Oh yeah, I was in my wife and I drove across the country with our newborn, because that's what you do. It's smart and it's safe.
You gotta do it.
Yeah, we snapped, but we were on the way back, and we were in New Orleans when they called it. I remember we were in the hotel room, and I was just like, it was a thing where I was just like, I mean, it's like I knew he won, and I was like, I was that asshole that was like screaming at the TV for 3 days and like tweeting.
Oh, we
call it. God fucking damn it.
I feel like we all were.
Yeah, but when they called it, like I felt we went and had a champagne lunch, and the kid that waited on us, I was like, "You working tonight?" And he's like, "Nope." And I'm like, "You got party plans?" He's like, "Oh yeah." You're like in New Orleans, a waiter, 20
Yeah.
something. I was like, this kid's gonna fucking go nuts. They all.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
Yeah.
you
Of
know?
course.
And
I mean,
it was
Brooklyn was
a bad place
insane.
to
So I can't
be.
imagine.
But like most people were like, woo! But you every like seventh person, they were just like, you'd see them on the street, just like, nope. Because that is a red state, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, of course.
But it was like, I'm in the fucking Garden District. I'm in the French Quarter. A lot of black people. Like none of them were like, ugh. Yeah.
And I feel like for the most part, New Orleans is a city where people are going to be like, hell yeah.
It's a bubble. It's
yeah.
for sure a bubble. Yeah.
For sure. But man,
like have you done other clubs with the mask on?
I kind of haven't been doing any stand. I don't know if you've heard, but it's been a really rough year for me. A lot of my gigs went away.
Yeah. Same.
So this is my character comic who thinks he got canceled and doesn't realize that there's been a pandemic. Yeah, all my work disappeared.
You sold it so hard. I was like, did something fucking come across the wire? Like, don't hire Tom. Like some fucking.
Yeah, it's been really tough for me out there. A lot of my work disappeared over the last year.
I did like an outdoor show, like 15-minute set, and I wanted. Fuck, you just reminded me. I wanted to fucking go up there and be like, I appreciate you guys being here, despite what just came out in the New York Times about 5 minutes ago about play it deadpan. There's always a couple people that know me, but most of them probably don't. And just to be like, wait, shit. And there's a guy going around taking pictures because it's one of those like cool shows run by a young person that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they'll put pictures up for like a couple weeks after and get from, people that are good at social media,
sure.
The youth. So, I just like, if they just see the camera going off and they're like, what the fuck? We're going to be in an article. It's just, what did you do? And then never talk about it anymore.
Just move on. Just silly ass jokes.
I had Langston Kerman on here. And we were talking about like the dark parts of our past, and he's just like, you don't have it. And I'm like, sure I do. I've been creepy to women and stuff, but like, just like a drunk idiot where I looked stupid. Hopefully more than they felt. Uncomfortable. But I'm sure I did. I've definitely made women feel uncomfortable. But that said, I was like, if Langston Kerman was like, I did some bad stuff, I'd be more surprised to find it about his history than mine. Like if someone told me something I did blacked out a long time, I'd be like, oh no, really? You're that same way. Like you and Langston are both like such like chill dudes. I would be like, wait, what? Tom was drugging women? No way.
I'd also be pretty shocked myself, but Langston even more. But and also, I mean, Langston's just the handsomest motherfucker alive, so you just can't imagine him doing a bad thing ever. But
he is a devastatingly handsome.
Probably a bad guy.
Not even devastating. Very comfortably handsome. He's nice to be around. He's good to look at,
Also, God, he killed it. And The Boys season 2 is so goddamn good for people who have not seen it. I was so psyched when I found out he was going to be in it because it's one of my favorite shows of the past couple of years, and he killed it.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it. He just showed up as like the Hawkeye guy, and I was like, oh, so great. I would so much rather be the Hawkeye guy not called Hawkeye than actually Hawkeye.
I know. Absolutely. So much cooler.
So much cooler.
I wanted to get back on the thing because you asked and I made a joke, but I legit have been losing my mind. I've been doing Zoom stand up here and there, but the attic was the last. You know what it is? When we could do outdoor shows, I was all about it. I was doing all of them. I did Go Bananas. That was outside.
Oh, cool.
In Cincinnati. Because when the summer hit and the numbers were going down, I got an offer to do a club in Michigan, and then there was like a scare within the building and I got spooked, and it was a thing where you're driving home and you're like, I drove because I was like, I want to be safe. And then the whole drive home, it's like, 13 hours or whatever, 15 hours, something like that. I'm just panicking because I'm like, oh my God, if I gave this to my partner, I'd feel so upset. I'd feel so stupid.
Yeah.
And then it turned out I didn't have it, but it just scared me enough to not want to do a bunch of indoor shit during it. And then I did the attic because it was like, that's my home club. And I just trust that. Like they were like, look, everybody's wearing a mask on stage here. And I did it, and honestly, it kind of made me go, "This isn't that weird." It wasn't as weird as I thought it would be.
Well, I mean, it would kill my ass because mine's all faces. Goofy
That's
face.
what. See, I thought the same thing about myself. I legit.
No,
You didn't mean that.
no way.
I was like legit like, oh, I make so many faces. This is going to fuck me. People are gonna leave this week going, I knew that guy was full of shit. I knew it was just all him making a goofy ass face.
I feel like, you know how like Jerry Seinfeld was like, his fame gives him 2 minutes of leeway, like 2 minutes of
The
bomb.
comedian thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with it. You can do goofy faces for maybe 2 minutes, and then you better have something behind that mask.
Yeah.
You know, that would work behind a mask. You better.
It's so funny to me to accuse my friends of only having faces, because a lot of us do just make silly faces a lot of the time,
Sure.
and it is funny. I do it a lot. But my buddy Ben Moore, who's a comic from Bloomington, I remember I made him so mad because we did the road together, and he told me he wrote a new joke, and I was like, "Oh, what face is it? Like, do you want to show it to me?" And then I just was telling him to make the face that he does to do it, and he was like, "You piece of shit!" And then he did it from state, murdering this new bit, and he
What?
just made a little goofy face at me, and it's just
Nice.
killing. So funny.
Dude, I love silliness. It's like if someone can do like, you know, like the dumbest, like I saw Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. It's so fucking dumb, but it's so funny. And I love how dumb it is and how it just barrels through that
Being
way.
dumb is the funniest thing in the world, and the smartest people play dumb the best, and it's great.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I've said this before, but like I always heard the story of like, you know, when I was in the improv scene in Chicago, there was like play to the height of your intelligence, and like when Chris Farley auditioned for the touring company at Second City, he walked on stage and like stage tripped and just crushed a table, and they're like, well, we have to hire this guy. Like, there's nothing smart about that, but it's like,
Yeah,
brought down the house, you know.
it's the best.
I love fucking my friend Drew. We'll get to the calls after this, but my friend Drew Hancock, who's a writer, went on Channel 101. He had a one of this series about a paralyzed dude who solves crimes with the help of his like dude that like wheels him around, and his name is Shitcock PI. And like there's a scene where at the end of the episode they catch the criminal and the cops are there and the criminal's cuffed on the ground, and no one's like said how his name is funny, nothing. Very end of the episode, and the detective goes, "Great job, Shitcock," and the dude cuffed on the ground goes, and that's it. And it's just that one dude that's like cuffed on the ground like that. It's just fucking killed me. It's like because it's just
That's
dumb.
so good.
Dumb humor.
Dumb is my favorite shit in the world. I love it.
But so do you get asked advice? I ask everybody this before we get
You
going.
know, I feel like I'm not going to go too deep into it because I feel like it'll bore everybody. The only thing I get asked advice about is stand up, because I hosted that Comedy Central stand up podcast, and so people email me a lot asking either for recommendations on stand up, which I love, or they'll ask me how to start stand up, which is the hardest thing in the world during a pandemic. But I give everybody the same advice, which is just find a way, like sign up for any kind of Zoom open mic or whatever,
Sure.
and just do it. But yeah, that's the only type of advice people ask me for. I think most people know not to come my way unless they want to find out how to play NBA 2K a little better.
Well, there you go. Okay, so on that note, as always, callers know we haven't heard any of this beforehand. I don't know what's coming. Tom doesn't know what's coming. Renee, let's roll the first call.
Hey, Braunger. Brendan in Savannah. Saw you had Tom Thakkar on. A huge fan of his podcast, Stand By Your Band. So I'm going to ask for advice, kind of based in that area. Guess to both of you, what band did you unequivocally love in your teenage years that you're having trouble defending now as a full-grown adult? And how do you defend them when you defend them? Is it simply, oh, I was a teenager? What do you do? Thanks, buddy.
Interesting. Okay.
Great
Good one.
question. I feel like I should say, just so people who don't know about that podcast know, Stand By Your Band is a podcast where we have people defend music that they like that people make fun of. So this is like exactly what the podcast is, basically. And this is a good question because Matt, I've been hounding your ass to be on the pod. So
yeah, I'll be on. Yeah, I need to get. That reminds me, I gotta get time for you for a
hell
month.
yeah.
But yeah,
But we've also been doing a thing where people defend or just defend a band that's underrated too. So we're opening up the thing a bit, but that's tough, man, because I don't know if you do this with Matt, but I go in waves. I had this era of deep shame about shit that I was really into. Like I'll say right now, I loved Maroon 5. The album Songs About Jane. It meant so much to me as a, 18, 17-year-old, whatever, or no, 16-year-old. And I was obsessed with it. And through for a few years, I honestly, I think if I went back and listened to it, I would still love a lot of it, but I can't, it would be very difficult for me to defend Maroon 5 other than that. Those songs really moved me as a young man. And,
I mean, I will say my friend who I grew up with, when I think that album came out, did that have This Love on it?
Yeah. It's full of hits.
Yes, but that song in particular, I wasn't familiar with them, and we had gone out, and I was like, I'm just gonna sleep at your house, doing the safe thing, and I went up to the attic and I went to sleep, or I was going to sleep, and he comes up, he's like, wait, you gotta listen to this, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to sleep. Don't judge. Listen to this song. He puts the headphones on. He plays that song, and I'm like, all right, it is. It's definitely a bop. That song was the biggest thing ever. But it's like, I still have that part of me. It's just like, why couldn't you have played this when I was comfortably drunk and wasted and just wanting to pass out?
Yeah,
I'll always remember that for that song for that. But like, dude, I thought you were gonna pick something way. You know who they asked? Who like. On I think on K-Day, the hip hop station in LA here, they had The Game on, that scary.
Yeah, I remember The Game. Yeah.
And they were like, the guy was like, hey man, what CD in your car or album in your car would you be embarrassed about? He's like, oh man, you might find some Maroon 5 in that bitch. And it was like,
oh shit.
So like, I thought you were going to say something way more embarrassing. I think.
Well, I have a lot of them,
your
but
generation, generally speaking, are like Limp Bizkit,
See, that never appealed to me, and we had Mike Racine on our show to defend him, and Limp Bizkit has caused a lot of problems in my life. Where one of the most dramatic episodes of the show was Mike Racine on that because we didn't like it, and he got really upset. And then in our live show, we do a thing called Battle of the Bands where we do like a tournament and each person's representing a different band. And our buddy Charlie was defending this guy, Stan Rogers, who sings like shanties or whatever, and against Limp Bizkit. And I picked Stan Rogers, and a woman stood up and said that I shouldn't be allowed to vote on our show. Like a woman in the audience, like she had to be kicked out because you wanted Limp Bizkit to move on. It was insane.
That is awesome, dude. That's called making an impact.
I couldn't believe it, and I was like, this doesn't matter, right? It doesn't.
Dude, I mean, I hated Limp Bizkit when they were out. I don't hate them now.
Yeah, I don't really hate them as much now.
It's just like I'm old, and I don't waste my hate, And, and I mean, I was like these guys, like just fucking run with black culture and but like. Remember, I was on Josh Adam Meyer's show doing this Police album that I really love and talking about it. And I was like, I was joking about Limp Bizkit. He's like, man, no, I saw them live. They're amazing and stuff. I was like, great. I'm sure it was a rocking show. It's like, I'm sure it was insane and nuts and all the stage diving you can fucking fit in a bowl. But like, I mean, it's like, and I grew up fucking going to punk shows. Scared as fuck, like never stage dive, too big, but like definitely would mosh sometimes badly. But like when they came out and they were just like, we do this now, and it was like, fuck all of you guys. But I can't. I feel like it's a thing where it's too easy a target. It's just
Sure.
so
Sure.
I love when people pick shit that's just like that makes people angry that you like it. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Dude, I mean, a big part of the podcast is that the owner of the Comedy Addict, Jared Thompson,
yeah,
huge snob and hates most of the music that I mean, we agree on a lot of things. Like we both love the National, and there's a bunch of bands that we totally line up on, but there's a lot of shit that I love. Like the first two Third Eye Blind albums are like, I still fucking listen to those and I think they're great. And he
those
would
are,
put them he thinks that they are one of the worst bands of all time.
of course he does. And like, I remember when they came out, I was like, this is crap, but it doesn't make me sad. And I was bartending, I was waiting tables in Chicago, and I remember the fucking Semi Charmed Life, which was
Yes.
ubiquitous. It was
Right.
the Shares Believe of its time. It was uh, 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 what would be the equivalent now? I can't even think of a song that would be as everywhere as that one was. But I remember, you know, if you go to Wrigleyville in Chicago, you know,
Yeah.
there's a bar every 0.5 inches. There inside of every bar. There's a bar and like probably in the Starbucks. There's, you know, it's like it's inescapable on Clark Street. And a Cubs game is just the most red-faced, barfing, drunk white people. And I remember going with my friend Rob, and I loved going to those games and getting drunk at those games. But like that song would play, and I would go Wrigleyville, Wrigleyville, Wrigley, because they'd be like, yeah, it's our song. Like, and no one sang Wrigleyville to it, and I did it to make fun of that band and Wrigleyville. So it's
That's
like
really
I owe them a
funny.
debt, you know.
It's almost like a generation's Don't Stop Believing, it feels
For
like to me. And I like Journey too, but
Yeah.
I can't help it. I'm one of those people who it's like it's almost every track I like from those two albums, and then they
Yeah.
totally lost me.
Totally.
Album 4 and in the middle of album 3, but yeah,
I didn't even know they had that
but
many.
I can't. It's one of those things where it's hard for me to defend it because, if on the show we have a comic like make a playlist basically that is like, here, listen to these songs, give it a chance.
Right.
And I think I could do that with Third Eye Blind, and I maybe with Maroon 5, but it'd be hard. It'd be much harder with Maroon 5.
I mean, the thing I can think of is like, I remember I sang "Let's Chill" by Guy to my girlfriend over the phone. So like that's embarrassing if there was ever a recording of that. But great band, Guy, not embarrassed. I can't think of anything I'd be that. Maybe it's funny. I was walking my daughter, who's 6 months old, and I put in the ear pods and I was like, I wonder if I can find All Damn Day by Mac Dre. And it was just a Bay Area rapper, violently, you know, misogynistic and all that shit. And I'm just, you know, I'm pushing my 6-month-old girl listening to a dude say, I want your lipstick on top of my dick tip. So it's like, would I be embarrassed to like play that in company? Yes, but that song bangs. Like if I had to pick a thing I'd be embarrassed about is probably like the misogyny and homophobia of like the rap music I grew up listening to, you know?
That's tough.
And it's still, but it's like, there were, you know, it's not like I'm going to go back and listen to Two Live Crew unironically.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good, but there were like some stuff, but it's like, there were rappers who I remember into my adulthood stayed on that shit. And I was like, we're done. I can't listen anymore. Like I respect Sadat X and Big Daddy Kane for taking back their homophobic lyrics and being like, I don't do that song. That was fucked up of me. I was 18 years old. That was, you know, like that was, you know, dumb, you know, so like, it's like, okay, cool. You grew. Because it's like,
well,
I sure said the word faggot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of that at all. You know, but it's kind of like John Roy's bit about how we use it as an insult, didn't know what it meant. It's like, your bike is gay. Like, how could a bike be gay? What does that mean? But anyway, that would probably be mine, and that would be hard to defend in a lot of ways. You know,
But it's I was about to say with rap, it's so hard because so much of it is like just saying the most biting thing you can. And I was about to say it's almost nice because like Tupac was 100% my guy growing up. Like I was so into him, and he's done all kinds of fucked up shit that I don't agree with or like, but he's dead, so I don't have to think about it.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. On that note,
Hope that helps.
that helps everybody. Caller number 2.
Hey, Matt. So last Wednesday, I cheated on my wife of 10 years. I've since started going to AA, but I want to know, how do I go about making things go back to normal? That'd be awesome if you've got any advice. Thank you very much. Have a good one, man.
You too, buddy. Holy shit.
Woo!
That's the thing, man. You know, people don't know when they listen to the show for the first time.
Mhm.
I mean, that's off. Listener, that was a hard left turn we just took down. I feel like, Tom, you and I were on Bourbon Street all this time. Fucking laughing. Some songs, talking some shit, talking about things that happened to us. We're all better now. And then we just turned and now we're like, oh no. We got to put down our hurricanes for a second and go, all right, let's dig in. Fuck. I mean, first of all, caller, thanks for your honesty. And thanks for, as I always say, getting to the point and being specific. I'm going to assume your wife knows that you cheated on her, and you're going to AA. Congratulations and fantastic. Your life is going to change for the better. I drink, Tom drinks, but I know I've scaled my alcohol intake way back, and my life is so much better for it. And my friends who are sober, their lives have gotten so much better. And I will say, there are people on here, I'm sure, that are listening that are just like, fuck this guy, he's blaming alcohol. Well, I will say one thing. The first thing alcohol affects is your judgment. And the more you drink, the more of your judgment it takes away. Ben Roy has a great bit who is sober and just got his brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Congrats.
Oh, man, congrats.
Yeah. And it's funny, brown belt in drinking. No. But he had a bit that was like, it would kill, but it was also so harsh where you'd get on stage and be like, who's drinking? Be like, woo. And he's like, you ever get so fucked up? And people are like, yeah. And he's like, you ever get so fucked up you cheat on the only woman you've ever loved and forever ruin her perception of you, and you spend your life trying to win it back? Like, it's this long thing.
This
like,
really lines up.
It just goes, whoop, and it's gold. So that was.
I think you just found this man his favorite new comedian, because
listen to Ben Roy. Yeah,
that's right up this guy's alley.
I'm going to throw it to Tom, but I will say you can't get it back to normal. There really kind of is no normal, but you can go to somewhere better than where it is right now. Let me just, because you're confronting the fact that you have a problem. You let that problem take hold. It happens. You did a terrible thing, as you know, and all you can go is forward, and hopefully you can build up the trust. That's all I'll say. The idea of like going back to normal, I don't really know. I don't know what that means after that. Even if you didn't cheat on your wife, if you hit the point where you realize you had a problem and you're like, okay, how do I get back to the way it was? You won't. Don't look at it that way. Just look at how you can get better than you are now. That's it. So.
Yeah. And 10 years is a long fucking time. And, it could go either way on you. It could be that it, is it. And if that's the case, maybe that's just what needs to happen, and you'll be fine. What you need to know is you'll be fine either way in the long run. I think that always helps, because I went through I had a broken engagement, not because of my own cheating, but I've been cheated on before, and both parties years later completely fine. So it's I think what's important is, if you really think that it's your drinking was the problem and that's why you cheated like that, then yeah, maybe that's something you should look into. But there's there could be more to that. It's hard to say. I think it's good of you to take steps in the right direction and to be honest about it. I don't know the details of, we don't know the details of it,
No.
which I think are
Yeah.
maybe important here, but it's, one
Yeah.
way or another, I think Matt, is totally right. There is no normal to get back to, but what you can get to is something functional. And that's all that really we have, is being functional.
Yeah. And being the thing that I've found that's helped me when I've that helped me scale back drinking is kind of just, sounds like yoga-ish or Zen, whatever, but it's like just being in the moment, not drinking my way to a place I want to be, just trying to be in that place and having a couple drinks and then being like, oh, this is nice. I had a joke in my act for the longest time about how the amount of weed I smoke is like the amount of salt you put on your eggs, just a sprinkle, just a touch.
Yeah.
It's like, because I don't smoke weed. And so if I do smoke weed, I smoke a little. I'm like, fuck, I'm on Mars right now.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of treating drinking like that more, where I'm just like, this is just a little something for me, a little treat at the end of the week. It's not that thing where I get done with the day and go, oh, it's time for beers. Like it's just, because it's just at that point, it's wasted calories. What am I doing?
Yeah, the calorie thing is big. That is, so think about that, buddy. You're gonna lose a lot of weight. Then you'll get back into a good spot because you'll be so hot. She'll have to forgive you.
You can upgrade, bro. Okay, so hope that helps, man. Hang in there.
Yeah,
all right.
Hang in there. I'm sorry, man. That's I know that it's tough to be on both sides of that. So I'm very sorry.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, you did a terrible thing, but you didn't get behind the wheel in a blackout and kill someone.
Yeah,
it's wild to me sometimes. As much as I love booze, it is the most dangerous drug. In terms
and I think it's the most dangerous because it's like the most normalized. I hate using that.
It's a combination of how bad it is, how much it affects your decision making skills and things, and how much it takes grip on you without you realizing, and also how available. Anyone can get it. Anyone, anyone. Let's turn out of this dark alley. Are you ready for the third call?
Let's hear this third call.
Okay, so
I feel bad. I hope I wasn't. I feel like I wasn't funny enough there to get this guy out of it.
It's not about that, and B, you're always going to be funny. Look at your face. Come on, guys.
Shit.
Yeah.
I feel bad drinking a beer while I get going.
Please. It's like middle of the afternoon here. Otherwise, I'd join you. But and I got a kid. So let's place a gentleman's wager. Do you think this one's going to be super serious or hilarious?
Well, see, I think it's gonna be a silly one, and I bet you $1,000.
Fuck off.
Oh, I'm a gambling addict. Did I not tell you that? I have been putting like $2 a night on the NBA, and that's been a motivator for me to get through the night.
Oh yeah, I bet on every game when I go to Vegas. Beginning of the day, go bet on fucking everything, and
I love it. I never win. I never win when I do it, but it's fun.
Nope. There goes another 10. Go on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Renee, roll the. I'm gonna say. So you're betting what? Good, happy, or no?
I think it'll be happy.
Okay, I'm gonna bet dark as fuck. Roll number 3.
Hello, Matt. My name is Ian. I'm from Berlin. That's in Illinois, outside Chicago. I'm a musician that tries to incorporate humor within my sets, sometimes with the songs themselves, but usually just keeping things fun for the crowd with the in-between banter. It seems to me that comedy is a form of live entertainment that most relies on crowd interaction to gauge if what you're doing is working or not. The energy of the room, the timing, the quality of the sound, yada, yada. And my question is, I guess with the past year wreaking so much havoc with live entertainment, how's it affected your judgment as a performer on what stuff you create is funny? And do you trust yourself to know it works? Or do you still try to find ways to test material on an audience or a crowd or your family or friends before you take your bits to the next level? How do you know what's funny, I guess, is my ultimate question. without a crowd? Thanks. Have a good
Well,
one.
it looks like we both won. It's not. It's dark and
Yeah, it didn't fit either.
didn't fit either. Both won, both lost. Dude, I think you just know what makes you laugh, and that's the only thing you're gonna rely on. I think your problem is not to be like you have a problem, but you kind of do because you're approaching it from what do people want? They want what you think is funny, and that's the only way only barometer to trust in this whacked out, crazy, mixed up world. Like that's all you can count on, man. You can't anytime, and I've said this before, anytime I've been like, this is what they want, I don't like it.
Oh, yeah.
Go, I've ate my dick.
Yeah.
Never works. So that never goes away. I was pleasantly surprised. I did an outdoor show on Sunday, and I did a bit that I thought of that day, and it rushed, and it was like, ooh, nice. But I didn't expect it to. And that was like, but like I did it because I thought it was funny. Because it was just a fucking an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. So it's just that's all you can go by, and that's the cool thing. That doesn't change. We are not music producers going, how can I keep up with the latest hot trends when the clubs are closed? We're fucking dum-dums and dodos, and it doesn't sound like you want to make the kind of music that Katy Perry is going to buy a track from you or something. So it doesn't matter, man. Or Billie Eilish, whoever's hot right now. But you get my point. So take some pressure off yourself. What's funny is always going to be funny in your mind to you, and just go with that.
True. I was gonna say I feel like I think you're totally right. You're right on the money there, Matt. But I will say this helped me realize that a little more, because you're not going up in front of crowds that often. This is the most time I've had off of stand up in a long time, where I do it, maybe twice a month lately. I'll do Zoom shows or the occasional rooftop if the weather's nice enough, or if they have heaters or whatever. But I haven't been doing a lot, and it made me do exactly what you said, where you don't have a crowd to tell you what's funny.
Yeah.
It made me lean more into, oh, well, I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want then. Because if we're doing these Zoom shows where the audience, you're never sure if how participatory they are. And so you're like, why would I say something that I don't, why would I say something just to get the reaction? I want to do it for myself. And then I took that stuff to the actual stand up, and I was like, oh, that shit of course works better, because that's how it is. Why would anybody not, what are you doing if not trusting yourself?
Too often I realized, I'm a Comedy Store paid regular, and too often I would go there and feel the pressure of that room.
Yes, the seller's the same way. Yeah,
be like, I better do good. Where it's like I should have just been like, you know what, man. This is still one of my favorite tattoos of all time. I saw it on someone's leg. I saw a picture of it. John Candy from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with a mustache and like a laurel wreath, like he's a Roman god. And it says, go ahead, make fun. But you know what? I like me. Under his it's like you have to have that in you where you're like, you know what? I might fucking eat shit, but like I like my comedy, and I like the things I've done, and I've been doing this for 20 fucking years. So
yeah.
I'm going to like this, and you're probably going to like this. I'm not going to trot out something I'm like, well, this does well, but I'm sick of it. And it's like, I was doing that and mixing it up, but it's like, I mean, next time I go to Comedy Store, I'm just going to talk about like whatever I think is funny that I haven't done that much, because it feels so much more vital.
Yeah. It's almost been a nice like little wake up call, because I was doing the same thing. There were situations where I was like, I need to kill on this one, and if I don't, who knows what's gonna happen? So I got to try out the big guns, and then I would be sick of that shit.
Yeah.
And also a lot of the time when you do that, you're not even the worst feeling is when you don't even kill doing the thing that you didn't want to do. And then you want to blame somebody, and it's like, you can only blame yourself. Like you're like, I'm my own person making me do these things. Why would I do a set that I didn't care to do? Yeah, and exactly. So I think I'm hoping that I keep that same energy coming out of this shit, because I want to only do shit that I really enjoy, performing, and hopefully that energy of being in the moment because you're performing something you care about will make things go as well as they can, you know. But you know, I'm freaked out, man. This stuff does freak me out.
I am
Not
too.
doing stand up all the time. I'm so used to doing it, you know, every day. I'm so used to doing it every day and not doing it for weeks at a time. There's that thing. You see comics we know who are still doing it every day, and I'm like, all I can think is like, oh no, I'm falling behind. I'm not keeping up with this person because they're doing it all the time, and it really fucks with me.
It is wild. If you would have talked to me a week ago, I'm sure I would have been far more shook than I am now because I did that show on Sunday. I stood in the back of a pickup truck, and it's like I don't, off the top of my head, I can't remember the last time I did. I have done outdoor shows, but I can't remember the last one. It's been so long. But it was just like, oh, I'm a little shaky, but I'm still getting some jabs. I'm some good ones in. I'm getting, because it's just like I'm also just like, because I got a laugh, and then one didn't go that well, and I went, man, I don't care. It's been a while, you guys, and I got an applause break because it was just, because they felt the realness of it. I didn't get on that truck and go, haven't done this in a while. Here we go. I mean, that would have got a laugh, but it's just like I wanted to just go, you know, like I would say, like, no one will ever be funnier than Dave Attell. And Dave Attell will just get on stage and just go right into like, wow. Like there's no intro. It's just, I'm going to say this insane thing and you're going to come with me, you know, like get in the car. We're going somewhere fun. That's how he always is. It's like, Roy Wood Jr.
Roar. Yeah, right.
Where you get that one of the all-time best special openers.
Yeah.
Where he, up there with Eddie Pepitone's I'm on Molly right off the bat. And that is good. Where he just gets on stage and as if you've been talking with him for a while goes, but if we get rid of the Confederate flag, like just wait, where are we going? And it's hilarious because you're just like, I'm fucking locked in. So it's like, I was like, I'm just going to get on that truck and start talking about the truck or whatever, you know? So it's like, but it's wild. You definitely will. There are right now times, this is the time where we're all doubting it, but it's like, it's gonna come back because people need it. We're not all, with all due respect to people who play the recorder, we're not going, man, when are people going to want to hear me jam out on the recorder again?
You know what's so funny is that when you brought up Attell, I almost said this, but he's been playing recorder on stage, and it's so funny. It's been his whole thing is he throughout his set he just plays the recorder. It's such an absurd thing because it's like it's such a dumb instrument, and he's like, no, I know how to do it. And he like knows he just plays the recorder. He'll do it for like a while too. It's so funny. And when it's one of those things that when people describe it to you, you're like, I get it. And then you see it. You got to see it. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah. CJ Sullivan had a slide whistle in Chicago. And I remember we did this roast. It was like, he's like, Matt Braunger cut off his beard. Nice shave for the summertime. And he went a little crazy, took off his whole, you know, like, but like he had one where he was just like, my girlfriend found a way to express herself creatively. Oh, that's good. With a 20-page suicide note. He just pulled that note a long time, staring at someone. Like constant. 20 pages? Like, do I have to read it all? It's so long. Just tack.
That's beautiful.
That's back to our stupidness. Our love of stupidity. Like Attell playing a fucking, basically a flute, a woodland flute that like was made to like lure kids out of houses and shit. That fucking dumb tune. It's genius.
It's also funny. You know what I love about it is like this industry. And sorry, I know this isn't helpful advice anymore, but it's like in a city where it's like so much of what you think of like an Attell type is this like gruff, like it's like dark. You see like a seedy alley, and then you see a tell or something, and then it's like keeping it real, like that brand of comedy almost. That's I think people might put him in that area, and then he fucking pulls out a recorder, and it's the silliest person you've ever seen. And it's like that's what I love about comedy, is seeing somebody just go, fuck all of this, I'm gonna play a recorder.
Ridiculous. So
it's so good.
So good. Well, dude, thanks so much for being on the show. You were fantastic.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This was great. I had such a fun time seeing you and doling out some advice. That one I feel bad about still, but the rest of it's been really fun.
Good. Thanks, man. It was great seeing you. My baby's screaming, so I got to go get her. But this was great job.
Great
dude.
to see you, man.
You too, man. Well, that was awesome, but I had to go get my screaming kid. Hi, babe. If you want any advice from an old dad, call 323-763-0228. Again, that's 323-763-0228. Thanks.
This Might Help with Matt Braunger was created and hosted by me, Matt Braunger. Produced by Outer Circle Media. Executive producers Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly for the Laugh Button Podcasts.